The Do This podcast is part of the Win, Make, Give podcast network. In this episode of the Do This podcast, Chad Hyams welcomes Olivia Lesinski, head of operations at Place, to explore the secrets of scaling a real estate business effectively. Alivia shares insights on leveraging systems and automation, emphasizing the crucial role of transaction management within Brivity. Ideal for solo agents and rainmakers, this episode unveils how to optimize business systems for greater success. We hope you enjoy this episode of the Do This podcast, presented by Brevity.
Hey everybody, Chad Hyams here for the Do This webinar. I'm Bobless today. Yeah, it's a new hashtag I'm starting, Bobless. So it's going to work for the Do This webinar. It works for the Win, Make, Give podcast sometimes. Folks, have you ever found yourself hashtag Bobless? You know, it's a sad place to be, yet boy, I have a lot of fun when I am there though, because I don't get interrupted in the conversations I want to have by Bob asking silly questions. No, he asks amazing questions, just not always the question I want to ask. And I'm bringing in today someone who I don't even know I'm going to get a word in edgewise, because this girl, once she starts, she gets so excited about what she's talking about, she's not going to stop, and she's just going to turn it into a presentation to all of you. And I'm going to be like, whoa, slow down. Let me ask a question in there. I want her to introduce herself to you. Looks like you're coming from cold and wet Bellingham, possibly, as I look out your window. Am I accurate?
That's absolutely correct, Chad. Yes, very cold and wet Bellingham, Washington.
I don't miss it. That's awesome. I mean, I miss parts of it, but I do not miss that part of it that you're experiencing right now. If I had my window on my fake background here, you would see beautiful sunshine and 75 to 90 degrees here in Florida. So I hope you're enjoying it up there. Introduce yourself to our audience.
Yeah, hi, everyone. It's so good to see all of you. My name is Olivia Lesinski, and I currently lead operations for Place, a company that both Chad and I are a part of. But in my start with real estate, my start with this company, I served as the operations leader for Ben Kinney's original real estate team up here in Bellingham, Washington.
I remember that. So how many years ago now is that?
About 6.5.
Really?
Yeah.
Feels like it's been a lot longer than that. Okay.
Doesn't it? I know.
It really does. That Ben Kinney guy ages us. Okay, so 6.5 years ago, give us your history. And folks, there's a reason for all this. Give us some of your history before you even got into that role. Were you operations elsewhere? That part I don't know about, Olivia.
Yeah, good question. So my background is primarily in hospitality. I started right at the bottom of scrubbing toilets as a housekeeper and worked my way up into management roles. I opened several hotels, and it's really in that process that I started to get really operationally minded, was when I was doing that hotel opening process, because there's a lot of different facets that need to be controlled. And I seem to be the main person on those management teams that had just the brain that was thinking about, like, wait, how do all these pieces come together? And it was in that I realized how much I love business and organization, that kind of thing. So I started getting my MBA, and I was actually just finishing up my MBA when I began with Ben and Jalene's team up here in Bellingham. So I came from no real estate experience. Like, I didn't know what the word pending meant when I started on Ben's team, which was a lot, but I did have that operational background and certainly learned a lot in my MBA program that I bring with me here.
Okay. And throwing into the fire is the way Ben wants to do it anyway. And of course, you were thrown into that fire. Inside, just you and me, nobody's listening. This is not being broadcast to anybody. No one's watching the recording ever. We got a Place hotel coming. Will you be opening another hotel sometime soon?
I don't think so. No one's asked me to run it, if that's true.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I just figured I'd start a new rumor around here. Okay.
Yeah, let's start rumors. We love that.
You became an operations manager for Ben Kinney, his team in Bellingham, Washington. What you have done is then you have just moved and moved and moved. Now you're the operations manager for Place, which is Ben Kinney and Chris Suarez's team of 500 other teams around the country. What's different scaling from just Ben's team versus scaling to, is it the same thing, just more people listening?
Yeah, I think that in terms of the role, like the things I'm doing on a day-to-day basis, I would say it's probably 95% different in my new role than it was when I was on the team. However, the strategies of scale, the strategies of how I am able to accomplish a lot with really no more time than any other person has in their day, those things remain very much the same. And that's always kind of what has allowed me. I really do think it's that beginning state with Ben's team, like you say, being thrown into the fire. I mean, like it was a hot, hot, hot fire that I was thrown into there. And I think that if I didn't have that experience, I wouldn't have been pressured into making all the systems changes that I had to make on that team, which then allowed me to gain incredible knowledge of systems in real estate and how to make them efficient, which is really what afforded me the opportunity to be able to grow up in place the way that I have.
I love that. Look, and here's the thing. There are going to be people listening to this that are solo agents. There are going to be people listening to this that are rainmakers on their team. And I know you want to talk about the transaction system that Brivity really provides so people can understand, look, folks, do this, right? When it comes to follow-up steps of the transaction, let Brivity be your assistant for all of that. I know we're going to get to that. Yeah, let's talk scalability first. Let's just talk. Now, you're not an agent, you're on the operations side, yet you have scaled. You've watched Ben's team grow, you have then grown with it, and now you've grown to the size you're at. Teach our audience a little bit about scaling, whether they're a solo agent right now who one day is going to develop a team, whether they're a new rainmaker just getting this, oh my God, it's scary, whether they're an established person that's growing their team. Talk about scaling before we get into the actual tool that we're here to talk about today.
Yeah, that's a great lead up question, Chad, because it's going to go right into us getting into that actual tool. And
I do things like that. Remember, I warned you, you get better questions with me than Bob.
Turns out Chad knows what he's doing. Now we all know. But when I think about scale in any role that you might be in real estate, and honestly, in any company probably that exists anywhere, when we think about scaling, we have to always start with systems, which, yes, that's easy for me to say, an operations brain, but it doesn't matter if you're an agent and you don't feel like you really have an operations brain. It's still going to be your ability to create a good system or not that's going to determine whether you can scale or not. That's what it's all going to come down to. You can make as many phone calls in the world, get as many leads in as you can, get as many transactions going as you can, but if you don't have the systems by which to have that like solid foundation, we all know, being in real estate, you can only build a house as high and as good as the strength of the foundation, and that's really what the systems are. And so we can't scale without a good system. And a lot of people sometimes I don't want to say debate with me about it, but kind of debate with me about it when we start talking about systems. And they're like, well, no, I don't need that. Like, I know what to do. And it's like, okay, great. So you know what to do right now as you're processing, like doing however many 5-10 transactions a year. But is your brain going to be able to do all of that at the same level if your business doubled? What if it tripled? That's what scale is you're not working and thinking about what your current situation is. You're thinking about how are you going to get to where you want to be? And you're certainly not going to be able to use just your brain power, regardless of how intelligent you are. It's not going to work. You can't scale with a brain.
That's a great point. I mean, folks, anybody here that's listening can make a hamburger. You can all go home and make a hamburger. Now, some of you will make it from scratch. Some of you will just take a frozen burger, throw it on a grill or whatever.
Costco will be where mine is from.
Okay, there you go, right? We can all make a hamburger. Yet McDonald's taught us how to scale, right? They said, here's how you make a hamburger so that you can make 50 hamburgers at the same time. And you can do this so you can serve more people. And you put this exact amount of this and that exact amount of that. And we don't question it. And it doesn't matter whether you go to McDonald's here in Florida where I live or as far across the country as possible. And you go to McDonald's up in Bellingham. Now, folks, you shouldn't eat at McDonald's. Yet we're just using them as the example. There's going to be the same number of onions, the same number of pickles, the same exact everything on that burger because McDonald's taught us how to scale in the fast food industry, which then became, every fast food restaurant. Hell, Nordstrom's does the same thing. You could close your eyes, one Nordstrom to another. It's a system. So remember, people don't really want to work with you. They want to work with your system. And you might be doing your system great, yet you'll never be able to grow and scale until you listen to what Olivia is saying, which is building that system out so that I can now be you in that regard and provide the exact same system and service that they loved from you.
And Chad, while we're on this like McDonald's Nordstrom example, I think that this is a great way for us to just visualize another value piece of the system, which is imagine you walk into a McDonald's and they didn't have the system set up the way that it would be. Like every single person in that McDonald's is going to be focused on frantically trying to deliver on the orders that are coming in. Whereas when you walk into a McDonald's, it's usually clean, depending on what time you go, but ideally it's clean. Nordstrom certainly is always
There you
clean.
go. Yes.
And there's great customer service. There's someone to greet you. There's someone to speak with you. They're not trying to rush you. Like there's a person there to deliver that quality of service, which honestly, at the end of the day in real estate, like we're the service. We are what we're selling, right? It's not the house. We're selling ourselves as customer service. And I'm super passionate about this coming from hospitality, but like if we're so frantically trying to just put together the product, we can't deliver on our service. And so that's another benefit of the system is that when you're scaling, when your production is growing, you're able to have that service level and like keep the place clean. Like all of that only happens because everyone's not frantically trying to make sure all the hamburgers come out on time.
It's a great, great, great point. And folks, your system will work in your area. There might be differences, right? If you go overseas and walk into McDonald's, you're not getting a Big Mac. Right? You're getting whatever it is in that country. That's the thing. The clothes will be different in the southern Nordstroms than they are in the northern Nordstroms because wintertime, you don't need to buy those things up down here that you need to buy up there. So yes, you have to figure out your systems and have someone who's got that operation mind to help you because you can't just say to another agent, what are your systems? Let me copy yours because laws might be different in their state than they are in your state. And things might just be done in a different way. Keep that all in mind. So Olivia, you came on today to talk about one of the most powerful systems in Brivity that nobody uses as well as they should because we all got this, right? I got this. I know how to do this because as salespeople, we're not necessarily operation minded like you are, where you come in and say, okay, you salespeople, go sell. I'm going to teach you how you do everything else after. Let's talk about some of the models that are already built into Brivity that the audience should be paying more attention to.
Yeah. So the way I like to think about Brevity, really, and I think about Brevity as a two-part system, right? Like we have our client side that has all of our leads, our lead auto plans, all those pieces related to generating business and doing that side of it. Once it goes under contract and we actually have a piece of business that's moving towards the closing table in some form or another, whether it's a signed listing or a buyer, we are then on the other half of Brevity, which is the transaction side. And so I really think of Brivity as a whole as your personal assistant. And you've probably heard Ben Kinney, Bob, many other people talk about Brivity as your personal assistant before, because in any sense, we want to be able to log in and have Brivity tell us what we're supposed to be doing for the day. So this is about
time out
far
right
beyond.
there. Time out right there for me, Olivia. Folks, here's your biggest challenge. I'm telling you this. You think you're your boss. You're not your boss if you want to be successful. You're your boss if you want to have it easy and not have somebody pushing and challenging you. When you get it and you let Brivity be your boss, now the success will come because you won't argue when it says you have to call this person, you have to email that person, you have to follow up with this person. When you have built these systems correctly, you'll realize you're not your boss. You just get to choose the level you want to reach and now let the system be your boss, tell you what you need to do. Back to you.
Yeah, exactly. And so when we think about transactions, like you've got something that is running your transactions right now, whether that be maybe it's all your brain. Hopefully it's not, because that would be really stressful, but at least stressful for me. Maybe you've got a spreadsheet going, maybe you've got a Google Doc or something like that that kind of outlines what's the stuff that you do. Maybe you use some other system or something like that that's kind of like giving you your task list in a more electronic way, like perhaps something like a Trello or something like that. And so in some way, you have something that's documenting the steps that you're taking so that you don't forget those key pieces that are essential in order to like get your listing on the MLS and in order to actually get your payment from the end of the closing, those essential pieces that you absolutely must have done. I know everyone on this call is doing that in some form or fashion, because if you weren't, you wouldn't still be in business because you wouldn't be getting paid. So we're all doing that. But again, that is not a scalable system. That is a system because in a way it's there, it exists, and we have our steps documented in some form or fashion. But when we get that into Brivity, there's a couple of key things within Brivity that allow the system to really become our personal assistant, not only in telling us what to do, but also like the best personal assistant in doing some of it for us so that we are not the ones having to do every single piece. And so the pieces of the automation is what I want to start with. We have a lot of different opportunities for automation within Brivity. A lot of you might already be using some of this with your leads. We've got some incredible lead automations, but that all of that same functionality works on the transaction side as well. And so we're able to have auto emails go out to our clients and let them know about key things that are happening, or send them key reminders. And you can even have those.
Give me an example, be specific.
Absolutely. Yeah. So some examples specifically about that would be, let's say that you're in a state that has earnest money due and your client hasn't sent in their earnest money yet. You could actually have an auto email or an auto text go out to them to remind them that that earnest money is due and the date that it's due upon, and add into that what your current instructions are based on your location to do that. So you're not having to go in and actually call, text, or email that person to do that specifically. Or like, let's say maybe 7 days before the close date is when you like to send your client a reminder of like closings coming up. These are the different types of things that you might like to do before you close in order to make your move really smooth for you. For example, like switching utilities, changing your address with USPS, all those different types of things. You don't need to actually physically type that email out or even use a template. The system can be set up to actually just send that over specifically for you.
That right, folks? Those are things that just waste space in your brain. And yes, when you have one transaction, you can remember to send that. That's not your goal. If you're here on this webinar, your goal is not to have one transaction. Heck, it's probably not even to have 12 where you say, I'm going to do just one a month, nice and easy. Because one, it never works that way. You end up getting 4 and then you get like 3 months of none because you ride the roller coaster. That's another subject for another day. Yet Olivia is telling you it doesn't matter whether one person walks into Nordstrom's today or hundreds of people walk into Nordstrom's today. The system is built to handle what's going on. It doesn't matter if one person or 100 people walk into McDonald's. The system is built that we know in 3 minutes we can turn over X number of because we follow it. Build the systems while you can so that when you get busy, the system's already there for you, not, oh crap, now I need to find time to also build this because I'm too busy to remember those things I used to do. Those were some great examples, Olivia, of things along the way that we can just never have to think about again.
Yeah. Yeah. And another piece that Brivity provides that you might be thinking like, okay, yeah, I have some other way that I'm already doing that. I don't know what that would be, but maybe you do. But something that's really valuable that Brivity provides for this is having the ability to base that communication or base tasks off of custom dates. And that's really where it comes into telling you exactly what you need to do and in a specific time. So for example, you might have an appraisal. I think most places have appraisals unless you're doing a cash transaction, but the appraisal doesn't have any sort of consistency as to when it is. There's no like set time based on your contract where it's always this specific time. It's
meaning
based
that
on
it's not always 3 days or 5 days after the contract. We all know it's in due diligence period, whatever that is. Yet we don't necessarily know when is what you're saying. Yet we'll find out the appraisal is happening on December 11th. So now
once the lender tells
triggers based on dates.
Yeah. So what you can do in Brivity, like you might have your Trello checklist, or you might have your spreadsheet that says like what you're going to do around the appraisal date. but those things are just sitting there in a list, and you have to like go and look at the list and remember, oh, okay, yeah, the appraisal is this day, and so because of that, this happens this day. Whereas with Brivity, once you plug in the appraisal date into the transaction, you can have your auto plan tell you, okay, this is when we're going to follow up with the lender about the appraisal because it happened 2 days ago, and we want to make sure that we get that and see if we need to do an appraisal response. That task for you can just come right into your list of tasks for the day. Just like if I had an assistant sitting right here next to me being like, all right, today's the day, you got to do this. And so we're no longer having to waste the brain space, waste the time, wake up in the middle of the night being like, oh my gosh, that appraisal was supposed to happen, I never followed up on that. Like, don't make yourself have that stress. No one wants to live in that kind of world. And the amount of brain space and just kind of like negative energy that is surrounding being reactive in your job is like, it's just crazy. And so using those custom dates, that's really something that sets Brivity, the Brivity transaction system apart, is that you can have those things filter out based on dates, in addition to, of course, auto communication, like I mentioned, around the close date, that works on the custom dates too.
Right. I mean, and that's fantastic how that does that. Olivia just gave you one of the top self-help books that's out there, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Habit number 1 is be proactive, not reactive, right? So what Olivia is telling you right here is by doing 10 steps now while business is slow, or just using Brivity where it's already built in there for you, and all you have to do is go attach to this person. We just put them under contract, Folks, that's being proactive. Being reactive is Olivia waking up in the middle of the night, as everyone has done it, going, oh, crap, right? Or I can't sleep, and running to the laptop at midnight to send that message. And then people know you're sending messages at midnight, and that's just not good for your business either, because now they're expecting you to respond at midnight to messages they're sending. So tell us a little bit more. I mean, I know this is your baby in operations, right? It's not just the client side of Brivity. I love how you put it. There's almost 2 halves to it, right? There's the client half, then there's the back end of our business half. And believe me, folks, if you went back 6.5 years ago to see what Brivity's back half of the transaction looked like then, it's nothing like it does now. And you've been a huge impact in making that happen. What are some of the other things our audience needs to know about, be taking advantage of, and basically do this because it's going to help your business end up growing?
Yeah. So what we've covered so far is how Brivity is going to be your personal assistant, both telling you to do things and doing things on your behalf through that auto communication. And like Chad said, there's already so much built out in the system for you. You can literally just go in there, compare it to whatever you're using right now, just add in a couple steps that are specific for your area, and it's good to go. Like, you don't need to overthink it. Even with the auto communication, if that gives you panic, just like, don't do it for now. Just do the task stuff and the dates, and you can add in the automation later. So like, in terms of do this, like literally just do this, like take action versus get stressed. And so the other piece that I think is really, really critical in terms of what we want to do here is, I'm so passionate about customer service. And this is actually a big piece of why Brevity was even created in the beginning, when Ben and Jeline, his first assistant, were working on it, was around the client experience, making sure, like that McDonald's cheeseburger, the same thing's happening the same way every time. That's great for us on our end if we're able to like manage our time, be really efficient, be able to scale. But what about the client? So that's the other piece, is Brevity allows you to make tasks visible to a client. And that allows for them to get that picture of everything that's happening in their transaction as it's happening, which cuts down a ton on the communication that you might need to have with the person. Like, you shouldn't have to be having so many phone calls with the clients to tell them all the stuff that was happening, because if the tasks are just completed in Brivity, they get a nice little email every single day that says, this is all the stuff that was done in your transaction. And for those really, really important things, like we talked about with the earnest money, utility changes before closing, like preparing for a home inspection, preparing for a photography appointment, that kind of stuff. Those are things where you might want to have that go out also then in an auto communication, in case they don't happen to be reading through those emails that go out with all of the info that was done. But that's the other piece, that final piece that's so key, is making sure you've got all those tasks in there, and almost all of them should be set as visible so that your client is just really, really aware of everything that you're doing in order to either get their new home purchased or get their home sold. Because at the end of the day, like, we're in a service business and our clients deserve to receive the top level service and not just have it happen on the back end, but be told what's happening for them so that they have a real clarity on all the value that you're bringing to them.
Well, Olivia, let's look behind the curtain for a second, right? One of the things I know with customer service is when we're doing it well, we make them think we're doing a ton of stuff, right? When you go to order something, right, it tells you, oh, you're going to get this and this and this. You know, you go buy an airplane ticket and it says, oh, and you're going to get snacks and you're going to get this. Of course, I'm going to get peanuts and a cup of water, right? I know that kind of stuff. Yet, boy, it's still a task that shows up. That's it. So you get off the plane and you're like, wow, I got a drink and I got snacks and I got to use a bathroom, you know, things that are just obvious. Folks, Brivity was smart and it's set up the same way. I mean, even some of those things that are, it's going to take me 14 seconds to go click and know that this is done. And it of course, that's going to happen. I mean, we all know that's going to happen. Click. Yet Brivity makes it look like you're doing 175 different things. I'm making up the number. A lot of stuff, okay, on the transaction on their behalf that are silly little things you would never think about. Yet you've got to remember, they're not in the industry. So now they're thinking, oh, look at all these things that this agent is doing for me, because Brivity has been built to help you look even better in customer service than you even are.
And you are doing it. You just take it for granted because there are things that we're like, oh yeah, well, obviously we do that. But like, it's not obvious to someone who's not in the industry. Like, I can say that from my own experience coming in with no experience and being like, oh man, like, this is all the stuff that goes into it. And I had even purchased a home when I started in the industry and I still didn't know. And so don't take the things that you're doing for granted. Like, doing the work is one thing, but telling the person that you did the work for them is the other half of it. And so that's really, really critical when we think about what we're actually going to go and do after this. Is not just setting up the system, but making sure that we've got that client visibility. We're adding clients to the transaction and we're clicking the buttons that say, okay, yeah, go and actually add this client to the transaction and send them the update emails.
That's so smart. I almost lost a listing once in my business because I didn't tell them I was going to put a sign in their yard, because that's so obvious for real estate agents. She almost chose someone else whose only thing they were going to do was put a sign in the yard, and she really wanted one, right? Folks, don't overlook the things we think are just second nature. They don't know, and Brivity helps make sure you're telling them you're doing those things along the way, which is going to help you look good. All right, I'm looking at the clock. I got 2 minutes on the clock. All yours. What do you want the last 2 minutes of this to be before I just wrap us up and close it down?
Okay, so I'm going to get a little wild with you guys.
2 minutes, that's it.
I know, we're going to get wild really fast. And so something that's important to note for any of you here that are operations, you might have an operations person working for you, you hope to have one working for you sometime in the future, is that the operations job is not just transaction management. For a lot of teams, it is, because they don't have a system like Brivity. So it takes friggin' forever to do a transaction, and that is someone's whole job. But a big piece of the value of being able to buy our time back through the Brivity system when we have an operations person in the role is that then they can actually do everything that operations should be in real estate. And so I want to give you a little glimpse, a little teaser, just so that you can kind of like dream for yourselves of like, what if you had someone that was executing on this operations model, which is something I created for Place, but like your ops should be owning your whole tech leverage. They should be owning productivity on your team, the systems for that, the systems for your growth, your recruiting, your retention, systems for scaling your business like finance, VAs, marketing. They should be owning systems for closing your loyalty gap, actually getting your clients to come back and work with you again after they've done one transaction through things like client events, touch plans. And so these are all pieces that are the operations job in real estate. And so if you have someone right now that's not able to do those things because the transactions take so much time, you know what to do. We just talked about it. And if you have the dreams of having a person in the future to come in and work in ops admin on your team, just know that if you set up this system now and they can plug into it, then they will be able to accomplish all of that for you, which really leads to scale at an even higher level.
Boom. She did it all in 2 minutes.
Oh,
Folks,
look at
this woman's a powerhouse. Olivia, if they had a question about systems, if they had a question about all this stuff, how do they get a hold of you if you're the person they want to reach out to and ask something?
Yeah, I love to talk about this stuff. Like you said, Chad, like I could just keep going on here and waste all these people's time, but I'm putting my email into the chat, olivia@place.com. Actually look at how it's spelled because Olivia is not spelled how you would guess. But I'd absolutely love to support any of you. I'm incredibly passionate about Brivity, as you can probably tell, passionate about operations, passionate about efficiencies. And I just really appreciate the opportunity to be on here with all of you.
Olivia, we appreciate you taking the time. It's so good to see you. It's been quite a while. Go grab yourself a hot chai or coffee or something with all that weather that you've got going up there, and enjoy the holiday season in the north where you'll actually possibly have a white Christmas, unlike those of us down here in Florida who don't even think it's coming.
Thank you. Yes. Happy holidays, everyone. And I hope to see you again sometime in the future.
Folks, Bob might be back next week. You got to show up to find out. See you then.